What if the safest place you knew, your home, your refuge, became the site of your slow, silent annihilation? What if the walls that held your life also concealed something watching, something waiting? In late March of 1922, in the implacable quiet of the Bavarian plateau, some 70 kilometers north of Munich, a lone farmstead known as Hinterkaifeck, literally the farm behind Kaifeck, stood isolated against the pale winter sky, its steeply pitched roof still bearing the weight of snow, its yellow-washed walls and dark green shutters offering the illusion of shelter to 6 inhabitants. The patriarch, 63-year-old Andreas Gruber, was known locally as stern and suspicious, a man shaped by years of hardship who ran his household with ruthless precision. His 72-year-old wife, Kazilia, frail of frame but bound to him by decades of dutiful silence, their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, 35, a woman whose life was shadowed by whispered scandals, rumors of disputed inheritance, legal spats with her father, and the contested paternity of her youngest son, rumors that trailed her like the winter mist that curled around the farmhouse. Her 2 children, 7-year-old Kazilia and 2-year-old Joseph, innocent souls who should have known nothing but safety, but who lived under a pall of unspoken dread. And on the morning of March 31st, 1922, 44-year-old Maria Baumgartner, the new maid who arrived that day from nearby Weidhofen to replace Crescens Rieger, the previous servant who had fled 6 months earlier, claiming she'd heard voices calling from the attic, disembodied footsteps pacing above her bed, and shadows moving where no light should reach. 6 months before the slaughter, Crescens had abandoned the farm in terror, swearing the house was haunted by something malevolent. Neighbors nodded politely, dismissed her claims as superstition in a land where ghost stories clung to the dark forest like cobwebs, and life continued its work of toil and routine. In the days leading up to the massacre, small omens multiplied without explanation. One morning, Andreas Gruber discovered a solitary line of footprints etched into virgin snow, starting at the edge of the adjacent spruce and beech forest and ending abruptly at the back door of the machine room, the lock of which he later found forced open despite having bolted it the night before. A freshly printed Münchner Neueste Nachrichten lay folded on the kitchen table, although no one in Kaifeck had a subscription. A small, unmarked key appeared on the hallway floor, and doors he was certain he had latched at sundown stood swinging open at dawn. The household dog, a formidable farm animal by breed, growled and snapped at empty corners and silent ceilings, hair bristling on its back as though some unseen intruder prowled the rafters. Victoria, her sleep unraveling, confided in the local priest that she felt eyes upon her whenever she moved through the hallways, that she heard cautious footsteps pacing above her head at night, and that her heart thudded when even the fireplace crackled. In a community steeped in wartime loss and rural superstition, neighbors listened politely but dismissed her fears as half-formed nightmare. Whispers carried away on the cold March wind. On the morning of March 31st, 1922, Maria Baumgartner arrived by horse-drawn cart, her small trunk packed by a sister who worried at last that the farm's gloom might swallow another help. She was greeted by Victoria's pale smile and the scent of boiled potatoes and salted ham simmering over the fire. After supper, thick stew ladled into wooden bowls and slices of dense rye bread. Each inhabitant retired to their rooms. Andreas to his chamber above the barn, Kazilia Sr. to the west wing, Victoria to the parlor that doubled as her children's bedroom, and Maria to the attic room where her predecessor had fled in terror. Outside, flakes of snow drifted down in silence, erasing the day's footsteps and muffling the world. As the stove's glow receded into embers and the farmhouse settled into a hush, the stage was set for a night no one would survive. By April 1st, the farm's stillness grew ominous. Smoke curled from the chimney, and the barn doors swung on their hinges as though recently opened, but no one answered when horsemen or neighbors knocked. Milk cans sat at the dairy door, the hen's coop door swung ajar, and the livestock lowed for attention. A mechanic sent to repair a broken plough in the machine room reported hearing movement and soft thuds inside the farmhouse, followed by curtains shifting as though someone paced beyond the glass, yet his calls went unheeded. Days passed with only the farm's rituals continuing, firewood chopped by unseen hands, the stove kept warm, bread removed from the pantry, animals fed. Then on April 4th, a group led by neighbor Lorenz Schlittenbauer forced open the barn and found 4 bodies in a macabre nest of hay. Andreas, Kazilia Sr., Victoria, and little Kazilia, all struck down by blows from a mattock, skulls splintered, faces frozen in final terror. In the house, they discovered Maria face down in her bedchamber, her skull cleaved by cross-axial strikes, and beside her, the infant Joseph in his crib, head crushed yet blanket still tucked around him. Investigators from Weidhofen and Fürstenfeldbruck arrived to find no signs of robbery, no forced entry, and nothing missing. Court physician Dr. Johann Baptist Aumiller recorded gruesome details. Andreas's jaw torn and cheekbones protruding. Cecilia Sr. strangled and struck 7 times, Victoria bearing 9 star-shaped wounds. Young Cecilia's lower jaw shattered and circles of trauma around her throat. Maria's repeated blows indicating rage. Joseph's single, precise strike delivered with the mattock's pole, yet the killer remained. Footprints led only inward. The dog continued to pace in frantic circles. The paper lay undisturbed on the table, and the stove's embers glowed from hands unseen. Over 100 suspects were interviewed, military deserters, itinerant laborers, local craftsmen, but none yielded proof. Lorenz Schlittenbauer, the neighbor who entered first using a key of unknown origin and moved with unsettling calm as he guided officers to the bodies, aroused suspicion but evaded charges. In 1923, the farmhouse was demolished. Workmen uncovered the blood-spattered mattock hidden in an attic beam and a penknife buried in barn hay, but neither bore identifying marks. Students at the Fürstenfeldbruck Police Academy revisited the files in the 1950s. Regional detectives re-examined them in the 1980s, and modern forensics teams reopened the case in 2007. Only to find degraded DNA and fading records. Hinterkaifeck remains an unsolved testament to invasion and erasure, an intimate nightmare in which the murderer needed no break-in, no accomplices, no flight, only the patient crossing of a threshold into domestic life, the silent stalk of 6 souls, the brutal extinguishing of their ordinary days, and the bizarre persistence of their routines until discovery. A reminder that the most terrifying threat can be the one who never has to knock.